7. That's the number. 7 seconds. That's how long it takes for your audience to decide whether they're going to pay attention. Now that I hopefully have your attention, we're going to talk about the book as we speak. Our presentation today will follow the classic narrative structure. It'll have a beginning, a middle, and an end. To begin with, we start with the ramp, or the roadmap, which is what we're doing right now. I bring you up to speed and let you know where we're going. Next, my colleagues will each discuss a point of discovery. First, content. Next, delivery. And then, state. After this, we'll move on to question and answer. We'll answer your insightful and probing questions about the material we just covered. And then finally, dessert. We'll serve you something sweet and delicious that will drive home the message that we've covered today. Well, now that I've shown you the way, off we go.
The first thing to master for high-performance communication is content. Listeners often complain that the information is too long, is not relevant, or there is no point in the information. The listener naturally has a tendency to not care much about what the speaker has to say, but rather cares about what's in store for him. Therefore, to master content, emphasize on 3 things. First, the preparation. Second, architecture. And third is the technique. Talking about preparation. Preparation for a presentation is similar to that of a dinner. You want the audience to go away with an impact, with an experience, not just with the meal. Ask yourself 3 questions. First of all, what do you want the audience to do? That is the outcome. Why should they care? That is relevance. And what is the point? That is the message. Going on to architecture. An effective communication has a design. Similar to an opera or a movie, a presentation has 3 parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. How many of you think it is beginning that is more important? And how many of you think it is the end that is more valuable? Yeah. Majority of you think it's either the beginning or the end that is more important. Yet, when we prepare our presentation, we focus majority of the time on the middle. A strong beginning leans the audience into the presentation, whereas a strong and impactful end leaves the audience with the emotions needed to take action. And finally, going on to techniques. An average person speaks about 7,000 words a day. Therefore, by the time your listener goes to bed, he has forgotten most of the words that you spoke. Therefore, the 3 traditional techniques for high-performance communication are storytelling. Audience love stories no matter what the hell they are. The second is metaphor. Metaphor helps to create a visual image of an idea in the minds of an audience, and it leaves a lasting and long-lasting impact. And third, as JD always says, active and plain English. It's better than complex business jargon because simple words have more power.
But if you really want to have power, you need to focus on delivery. Delivery is the art of expression. And we all have 3 instruments that we can use to build a colorful message: voice, posture and movement, face and eyes. Our voice reveals what we are not saying. But we can craft our voice by focusing on our breath and our vocal variety. If you still remember Ken's workshop, he made us say, ah. His message was that our breath carries our voice. And in order to speak, we need to really breathe in first. And we have vocal variety. We can use tempo. We can talk really very fast. But use the most important sound. Silence, to highlight our message. We can talk really low, very authoritative like the Godfather, or we can go very high and build empathy with the audience, like talking to a baby. And we can also use volume. Be unpredictable with your voice. You can practice. You can read bedtime stories to your children before they go to bed, or you can just read poems to your partner. The second thing is posture and movement. It needs to be congruent with your body and your message. So try to avoid any T-Rex-ish moves, the fig leaf, getting busted, or, I don't care, I'm going to be out of here by 11. Try to come in, stop, breathe. Take a heroic neutral position. Try to lean forward a little bit, like you're about to give a gift to the audience. The third thing is your face and your eyes. The most important thing you are wearing is actually your expression. And to have a smile is much cheaper than to change your entire wardrobe. You also need to build eye contact, engage with the audience. Don't scan, don't get them dizzy, because the audience is always looking wherever you are looking. So we have 3 instruments. We have our voice, posture and movement, and our face and eyes to deliver a colorful message.
So we've seen how to develop our content and how to deliver it to our audience. But now I'm going to tell you about the most important part of communication, your state. State is the condition you're in when that presentation starts, when you first open the conference room door. And there are 3 aspects of our state that we must be able to control: our body, our mind's eye, and our beliefs. So body, as Chava just mentioned, is everything. It's about your movements, your breathing, your facial expressions. And personally, I've found that it's really difficult to think about what my body's doing when I'm so focused on my content. So what can we do? Make it a habit. First, analyze the emotional state you should be in. So right now I'm thinking confidence. And then think, what can I do with my body to portray that? And then do that same thing every time you're about to start a presentation. So maybe I take a deep breath and put my shoulders back, and if I do that every time, I'll make a habit to jumpstart my body into presentation mode. Next, let's talk about your mind's eye. Your mind's eye is what you're thinking about, and as we all know, our minds tend to wander. Unfortunately, due to evolution, our minds tend to wander about negative things, which is good for safety, but not so good for positive thinking. And that's why it's important that we take careful consideration of what we are focused on. So our minds typically focus by asking ourselves all those internal questions. So when you're up in presentation, you may be thinking, oh no, what am I going to forget? Is this skirt too tight? What if they don't like me? And those are the questions that are going to drag us down. So what can you do? Ask a different question. Instead, think, what gift can I bring to my audience today? What amazing takeaways are they going to have? How much are they going to love me? And those questions will help you to refocus your mind's eye. Finally, let's talk about beliefs. Beliefs are the lens through which we view everything in the world. If you've stood before an audience and had a sinking feeling in your stomach and gotten really nervous, chances are it was your beliefs and not the audience itself that caused those knots. Because the thing about beliefs is, for you, they're always true. Think of beliefs like a stool. And stools are held up by legs, and in this case, we'll call those references. So if you approach the stage and you have the belief that my audience is judging me, then as you scan, you're going to see someone yawning, someone on their cell phone, someone talking to their neighbor, that person's scowling at me. And all of a sudden, you have reinforced that belief for yourself. And as you move through your life, as you go on, you're going to continue to reinforce that. And then 20 years later, you'll realize, I've always believed this because of what I started believing back then. But I bet that if instead you decide to have the belief, my audience is incredibly engaged and excited to hear what I have to say, you'll be able to find just as many references to support that point. So it is imperative that we first of all question our beliefs that we've developed over time, and second, put in place those positive beliefs that will ensure our success.
And who doesn't want to be successful in their presentations? Well, to ensure success, follow the 3 triangles: content, delivery, state. In content, we talked about preparation and focusing on what you want your audience to do. We talked about architecture and how a strong beginning and a powerful ending really draws out emotions in your audience. We talked about technique, storytelling, metaphor, and active plain language, which has a lasting impact on your audience. Next triangle was delivery, where we talked about your voice, which reveals what you're not saying. We talked about posture and movement and how it needs to be congruent with your message. We talked about your face and your eyes and how they're the most important thing you wear to a presentation. And lastly, we talked about state. First, we talked about your body and how your posture and your movement and the way you breathe and use facial expressions and muscles and hand gestures all impact the delivery of your message. We talked about your mind's eye and how what you focus on impacts how you feel. And we talked about beliefs and how about what you believe about yourself as a presenter will impact how you show up. So, content, delivery, state. Which triangle do you find the most difficult to perfect, and why? Or what other questions do you have for us? Thank you.